Hey, English learners! Welcome back to Talk English with Emma, your friendly place to improve your English through simple, real-life conversations. I'm Emma.
And I'm Alex, and we're so glad you are here with us today. Wherever you were listening from, whatever you were going through right now, we hope this episode gives you something useful and something warm. Pull up a chair. Let's talk.
On this channel, we make English learning easy, practical, and enjoyable. We focus on everyday speaking, useful expressions, and conversations that help you sound more natural and confident. If you enjoy learning with us, please like this episode, subscribe to Talk English with Emma, and share it with a friend who is learning English too. Your support truly means everything to us. Okay, let's get into today's topic.
Emma, can I ask you something?
Of course.
Do you remember your first job interview? Not a practice one, not a classroom simulation, a real one, with a real person on the other side of the table who had the power to say yes or no to your future.
Oh, I remember it. I remember it the way you remember things that were both terrible and important at the same time.
What happened?
I was 22. I had prepared for weeks. I had written out answers to every question I could think of. I had practiced in the mirror. I had asked a friend to do a mock interview with me. I walked into that room feeling as ready as I had ever felt for anything. And then the interviewer looked at me and said, "So, tell me about yourself." And everything I had prepared vanished completely, like it had never existed. And what came out of my mouth was, "I am a hard worker and I am very passionate." And then I just stopped.
I am a hard worker and I am very passionate.
In exactly that order, with exactly that level of life and detail. And then silence.
And what happened after the silence?
The interviewer nodded very slowly, the way people nod when they are being polite, but they have already moved on inside. And I knew in that moment that the job was probably not going to happen. And I was right. It did not happen.
And yet you eventually got a job, and then another one, and you built a life and a career. So something changed between that first silent interview and everything that came after.
Something did change. 3 things changed, actually, and those 3 things are what today's episode is about, because a job interview in English is one of the most high-stakes conversations a learner will ever face, and yet most people go into it with the same preparation I had, memorized answers that disappear under pressure, and phrases so general they could belong to anyone.
I am a hard worker, and I am very passionate. I am a team player. I work well under pressure.
The 4 sentences that have appeared in every job interview since the beginning of time and have never once impressed anyone.
Because they say nothing. They are empty. They could belong to any person in any job, in any industry, in any country. And the interviewer has heard them 10,000 times, and they mean nothing.
And so today, we are going to talk about how to actually talk about yourself in a job interview in English, how to answer the questions that matter, how to sound like a real person with a real story rather than a walking collection of interview cliches, and how to do all of that with the English you have, not the perfect English you wish you had.
We have 3 ideas for you. 3 shifts that will change everything about how you handle a job interview in English. And the third one, Emma, I want to say it now, the third one is the one that nobody else is going to tell you, but it might be the most important thing in this entire episode.
It really might be, so please stay with us all the way. But let us start with idea number 1.
Idea number 1, stop answering interview questions. Start telling interview stories. Because here is the problem with how most people prepare for job interviews in English. They prepare answers. They think of the question, and they think of an answer, and they memorize the answer. And when the question comes, they try to deliver the answer. And what comes out sounds exactly like what it is, a prepared answer. Flat, rehearsed, empty.
And interviewers hear prepared answers all day long. They have developed a very sensitive radar for them. The moment you start delivering a memorized answer, something changes in the interviewer's face. The eyes glaze just slightly, the pen starts moving. They're already preparing the next question before you have finished the current answer.
But a story is different. A story is something that actually happened, something real, with a beginning, a middle, and an end, with a specific moment where something went wrong or right, with a feeling attached to it. And when you tell a real story in an interview, the interviewer leans in. Because humans are wired for stories. We've been telling them since the beginning of language, and when a real one appears, we pay attention.
Let me give you an example. One of the most common interview questions in English is, tell me about a time you faced a challenge at work and how you handled it. And the typical prepared answer sounds like this. I faced a challenging situation in my previous role where I had to manage a difficult project under tight deadlines. I organized my priorities and communicated clearly with my team, and we completed the project successfully. That is a prepared answer, and it is so general it could have come from anyone.
But a story sounds like this. In my last job, there was 1 week where 3 things went wrong at once. Our main supplier pulled out with 2 days' notice, 2 of my team members were sick at the same time, and the client moved the deadline forward by a week. And I remember sitting at my desk that Monday morning, just staring at my screen for a moment, thinking, okay, just breathe, one thing at a time. And I called the client first, before I had even found a solution, because I knew they needed to know what was happening. And I was honest with them. I said, we have some challenges, but I am already working on them, and I will update you by end of day. And I think that call was the thing that saved the project, because they trusted us more after it, not less.
In that story, you learned that this person stays calm under pressure. You learned they communicate proactively. You learned they are honest, even when honesty is difficult. You learned they think about what the client needs first. And you learned all of that not from a list of qualities, but from one real moment.
And the English was not complicated. I remember sitting at my desk. Just breathe, one thing at a time. I was honest with them. These are simple phrases, but they are alive because they are real.
So whenever an interview question comes, before you try to answer it, ask yourself, is there a real moment from my life that answers this question? A specific day, a specific situation, a specific thing that happened. Find that moment and tell that. That is your answer.
And if you are going to your very first job interview and you do not have work experience yet, that is completely okay. Your stories can come from university, from volunteering, from personal projects, from family responsibilities, from anything real that happened to you where you learned something or handled something or grew in some way. Experience does not only happen in offices.
Okay. Idea number 2, and this one is about the language itself, about the specific phrases and structures that make you sound confident and natural in an English language interview. Because there is a vocabulary for interviews, and knowing it does not make you sound rehearsed. It makes you sound professional.
Let us start with the most important question. Tell me about yourself. This is almost always the first question, and it is the one that freezes most people, including Emma at 22.
Including Emma at 22. The key to answering this question is to understand what the interviewer is actually asking. They are not asking for your life story. They're not asking for your CV read back to them. They're asking, who are you as a professional? What is the shape of your career or your experience? And why are you here today? So a good answer to tell me about yourself has 3 parts: where you have come from, where you are now, and why this job right now. For example, I studied business and marketing at university, and during that time, I discovered that what I loved most was the communication side, understanding what people need and finding the right words to reach them. Since graduating, I have been working in a small marketing agency where I have handled social media, content, and some client relationships. And I'm here today because I want to move into a larger organization where I can work on bigger campaigns and learn from a more experienced team. That answer is clear, honest, and specific, and it ends with a reason for being in that particular room, which tells the interviewer you have thought about this specifically and you genuinely want this role.
Another really useful phrase is, "I'm proud of," because most learners answer interview questions in a neutral, factual way. I did this, I completed that, I was responsible for. But when you say, "I'm proud of something," you show emotional investment. You show that you care about your work. You show that you know the difference between doing something and doing something well. For example, I'm proud of the fact that in my first year at university, I failed an important exam, and instead of giving up, I went back and asked my professor where I had gone wrong, and I passed it the second time with one of the highest marks in the class. I'm proud of that because it taught me more than passing the first time would have.
That is such a powerful answer because it shows honesty about failure, it shows resilience, it shows initiative, and it shows self-awareness, all from one real moment, told with the simple phrase, "I am proud of."
And for the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, which is another very common one, a natural and confident answer in English sounds like, "Honestly, I am not someone who maps out a 5-year plan in detail, but I know the direction I want to move in. I want to be in a role where I am genuinely responsible for outcomes, where my decisions matter, and where I am still learning. I think if I am still learning in 5 years, I'm on the right path." That answer is honest, it is confident, and it sounds like a real person rather than someone who has memorized the answer to that question.
Which brings us to the most important phrase in any English interview, and it is the simplest one. I do not know. Or, that's a great question. I haven't thought about it from that angle before. Let me think for a moment. Because so many learners feel that if they do not have an answer ready, they have failed. But the truth is, saying, "I do not know, but here's how I would find out," is one of the most impressive things you can say in an interview. It shows honesty, it shows confidence. It shows that you are not someone who makes things up to sound impressive. And those qualities are exactly what most employers are looking for.
Idea number 2 in one sentence. Learn the vocabulary and phrases of English interviews. Not to sound rehearsed, but to feel at home in the conversation, so that the language does not get in the way of the person you actually are.
Okay, the third idea, the one Alex said nobody else was going to tell you.
Yes, here it is. Idea number 3. The job interview is not just them interviewing you. You are also interviewing them. And most people forget this completely. They walk into a job interview as if they are asking for something, asking for approval, asking to be chosen. And that energy, that slightly desperate, slightly small energy of "please choose me," comes through in everything, and how you sit, how you speak, how you answer questions, how you respond to silence.
And it makes everything harder. It makes your voice smaller. It makes your answers shorter than they should be. It makes you agree with things you don't actually agree with just to seem agreeable. And it makes you forget that you are also a person with standards and preferences and things you need from a workplace to do your best work.
A job interview is a two-way conversation. You are finding out if this company and this role are right for you just as much as they are finding out if you are right for them. And when you walk in understanding that, when you walk in as an equal rather than a supplicant, everything about how you present yourself changes.
I want to tell you about my second job interview, the one after the terrible first one. I had learned something from the disaster of, I am a hard worker and I am very passionate. And what I had learned was this. I had been so focused on being chosen that I had completely forgotten to notice whether I actually wanted to work there. And so for the second interview, I made myself a promise. I was going to walk in curious, not nervous, curious. Curious about the company, curious about the team, curious about whether this place was somewhere I could actually grow and be happy.
And what happened?
Something shifted in how I sat, in how I answered questions. Instead of trying to give the perfect answer, I gave the honest answer, because I was no longer trying to convince them of something. I was trying to understand something. And the questions I asked at the end of the interview, what does a typical week look like here? What is the biggest challenge the team is facing right now? What does success look like in this role after 6 months? Those questions changed the whole atmosphere of the room. The interviewer leaned forward. She started talking differently, more openly, like we were having a conversation between equals, rather than a formal assessment.
And you got the job.
I got the job, and I stayed there for 3 years, and it was wonderful, because I had chosen it as much as it had chosen me, and that matters so much more than people realize.
So, idea number 3 is this. Walk into every English interview curious. Prepare your own questions, real ones. Questions about the culture, the team, the challenges, the opportunities for growth, and ask them with genuine interest. Because a candidate who asks good questions at the end of an interview is remembered, always. Every interviewer I have ever spoken to about this says the same thing. The candidates who ask good questions are the ones who stand out.
And in English, some of the best questions to ask at the end of an interview are, what does success look like in this role in the first 6 months? What is the team culture like? What are the biggest challenges facing the team right now? What opportunities are there for learning and development? What do you enjoy most about working here? That last one, what do you enjoy most about working here, is particularly good because it asks the interviewer to share something personal. And when they do, the dynamic changes. They are no longer just assessing you, they are in the conversation with you. And that is the best possible place to end an interview.
Okay, let's slow down and do our word tour, our gentle walk through the words and phrases of today.
First word, composed. Composed means calm, controlled, and collected under pressure. When you are composed, you do not panic. You do not let the stress show on the outside, even if you feel it on the inside. For example, even though my heart was racing, I tried to appear composed throughout the interview. Or, she was so composed when the interviewer challenged her answer. She just paused, smiled slightly, and gave a thoughtful response. Say it. Composed. Composed. A word that sounds exactly like the feeling it describes.
Next word, articulate. To be articulate means to be able to express yourself clearly and effectively in words. When someone is articulate, their ideas come out clearly. Their sentences are well structured. They find the right word. For example, she was incredibly articulate about why she wanted the role. I knew within 5 minutes that she understood the job deeply. Or, I want to become more articulate in English so that my ideas come out the way they sound in my head. Say it. Articulate. Articulate.
Next phrase, I thrive when. This is a wonderful phrase for talking about the conditions in which you do your best work. It shows self-knowledge. It shows that you understand yourself. For example, I thrive when I have clear goals, but the freedom to decide how to reach them. Or, I thrive in environments where there is a lot of collaboration. I find that I come up with better ideas when I can talk them through with other people. Say it. I thrive when. I thrive when.
Next word, initiative. Initiative means the ability to assess and act on situations independently without waiting to be told. When you take initiative, you see something that needs to be done and you do it before anyone has to ask you. For example, what I most appreciate in a team member is someone who takes initiative, who sees a problem and moves toward it rather than waiting. Or, in my last role, I took initiative on a project that nobody had assigned to me, and it became one of the most successful things the team did that year. Say it. Initiative. Initiative.
Next phrase, what I bring to the table. This phrase means what you specifically contribute, what unique value you offer, your particular strengths and skills. For example, what I bring to the table is not just the technical skill, but the ability to communicate it to people who are not technical. Or, I think what I bring to the table is a combination of creativity and structure. I am good at big ideas and good at making sure they actually happen. Say it, what I bring to the table. What I bring to the table. A confident and natural English phrase.
And our last word, resilient. Resilient means able to recover from difficulty, able to absorb setbacks and keep going. When you are resilient, you do not break under pressure. You bend and then come back. For example, I have learned to be resilient. I have had some difficult moments in my career, and what they taught me is that things can go wrong and you can still be okay. Or, employers want resilient people, not people who have never failed, people who have failed and learned and kept going. Say it, resilient. Resilient, a word with strength and softness in it at the same time.
6 words today. Composed, articulate, I thrive when, initiative, what I bring to the table, and resilient. These are the words that belong in your interview vocabulary, not because they sound impressive, but because they describe real things about who you are as a professional.
Now it is your turn, and this is always the part we love most.
And here is your challenge. Think about a moment from your life, from school, from work, from a project, from anything, where you handled something difficult, or where you learned something important, or where you did something you are quietly proud of, and write about it in the comments, in English, in your own words.
You could write something like, "The moment I am most proud of is when I failed my driving test 3 times and passed on the 4th. I know that sounds small, but I am resilient when it matters, and that moment proved it to me." Or, "I thrive when I am given a challenge that nobody has solved before. I do my best thinking under that kind of pressure."
Or maybe you want to practice answering "Tell me about yourself" in the comments. Write your 3-part answer, where you have come from, where you are now, and why you are here. Even if you are not going to an interview tomorrow, practice it now, because the more you say it, the more naturally it comes. And the more naturally it comes, the more confident you will feel when the moment actually arrives.
Write it in the English you have today, because the English you have today is enough. It is always enough to tell the truth.
And know this, if you are preparing for a job interview in English right now, we see how brave that is. Interviewing is difficult in any language. Doing it in a language you are still learning takes real courage. And courage is not the absence of nerves. It is doing the thing anyway, with the nerves still there.
You are going to walk into that room and you are going to breathe. And you are going to remember that you have something real to offer, something specific, something that belongs to you and nobody else. And you are going to tell your story, imperfectly and honestly, and that's going to be enough.
It's going to be more than enough. If this episode helped you, please give it a like, subscribe to Talk English with Emma, and share it with someone who has an interview coming up, in English or in any language. Because the ideas today are not just about English. They're about how to be yourself under pressure, and everyone needs that reminder sometimes.
Until next time, take care of your English and take care of yourself. You are more ready than you think. This was Talk English with Emma. I'm Alex.
And I'm Emma. We will see you in the next episode. Go get that job. Bye, everyone.